So this is something that you didn't know. I just posted a picture of my daughter and I in 2016. We were invited to open up and speak for Donald Trump when he was running. It was the night he won the Republican nomination, and this was in Albany, New York, our hometown where we live, the state capital, and tensions were heated. Bernie Sanders was in town that day, and so was Hillary Clinton. Um, but the protesting and the rioting, specifically outside of Trump's place, was intimidating to say the least, right? And that just shouldn't be, because there shouldn't be intimidation. That's the way the laws are set up. That's called voter intimidation, right? Protests are fine, but they're not protesting outside of Bernie's place or Hillary's. It was just so venomous, right? To get into the arena that night. Fast forward, um, I actually thought I was just speaking backstage, maybe in the meet and greet area, but I was informed at the time, no, 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 you're going out there on stage, and it was thrilling, and the energy was electric. People were just so proud to be American, proud to be there supporting the man they wanted to be the president of the United States of America. And this is why America is great, right? This is so important that we have a system set up in place with checks and balances to give the American people the right to choose how they want our country to run for ourselves, our children, and future generations. I brought my daughter up on stage. She was only 8 at the time, and it was tons of fun. They were chanting her name. The energy was electric. It just felt so good. It was just so like pro Americana. Just a lot of happy people there, celebrating America, celebrating a dream that they had of America, a vision that they had of America, and that should always be that, no matter what side you're on, right? I mean, it's the vision for America and our love of this country. So, a couple of really important things to know that I've never really shared before, certainly not publicly. Um, God knows, because I was terrified. Two things happened that night that people should be aware of. I got off the stage with my daughter. I mean, it was so fun and so awesome to know and support this man, right? It was such an honor. But we got off the stage, and we got to go say hi to him and take pictures, and he got to meet my daughter formally in person, Ava, and that was that. But because there was so much kind of like violent protesting and rioting out front, the Secret Service brought my daughter and I out the back door. And I thought to myself, like, at the time, this is 2016, like, uh, I don't know. I mean, the Democrats are supposed to be known as like the peace loving, wielding, peaceful people, right? And they had narrated this story. I would say the media, let's just say, narrated that it was Trump's people, it was violent, and there was always arguing, and they were painting him to be such a bad person, which I've known him for 20 years, and I know that he's not that person. But I also worked in journalism for a decade before, and I do know how we operate, and I can get into that. But for this night, it stuck with me, like, the narrative is that Trump and Trump supporters and these bad Republicans, they're so negative, and the Bernie and Hillary people, they're the ones that are so peaceful, right? They're not angry. It's just the opposite though. But at the time, I wasn't going to argue with it, and we went on our way. So we go to dinner that night. And, I mean, it was only within an hour or so, and the nightly news came on behind the bar, and it said, I mean, for the whole night was so happy and celebratory, and every news network said rioting at Trump's, rioting at the campaign. Like, in other words, what they were doing is they were painting the pictures that wherever Donald Trump went, followed anger and fighting and protesting. So the association that the media wants you to make is with Trump comes anger, with Trump comes, and then fill in the blank, racism, anger, anti this, anti America. And they said the riots, like fights broke out. I didn't see anything. And then I thought to myself, how would they get footage? How would they even know? I was there. There's no way. There's like, I couldn't even see as to where. And then it occurred to me that that was a plant. Someone came, and this is 2016, right? This is way before. This is when I knew that there was certainly an agenda with the media, because this was definitely a setup. It was because there's no way that there happened to be news crews and whatever where I couldn't even see these people in the nosebleeds. How ironic that it ended up. And if I Google it today, right, November 5th, 2024, and this is back in, I believe, April of 2016, if I Google that night in Albany, New York, um, you will see fights break out. And in working in media, I get that they were narrating and creating the narrative that around Trump comes fill in the blank, anything negative, right? And this is something called embedding, and the CIA knows it well. It is to kind of propagate the people, us, the general public, into believing the narrative, right? And it just stuck with me. I'm like, that is really crazy. But again, it was only 2016. This before 2020, before you would believe that anything like this could happen. And we went on our way, and I was just happy, and the phone calls were coming in, and it turns out that it was on ABC, like live, like across America. Thank God I didn't know that before getting on stage, but I was proud and happy, and I was thrilled to see DT. And so fast forward in the coming days, all of a sudden through, I'll just say social media, not naming the platform, but through social media messaging, I started to receive really scary, terrifying messages, um, equating me to being like anti-American, same rhetoric, hating human. They were coming down again. The talk was the border at the time, because DT was huge, with building the wall. I was accused of hating women and wanting to separate illegal immigrants, mothers, and children. And then after that, what was worse is um, they came after my daughter. They came after Ava, who was only 8 at the time. They came after me, and basically I got death threats, right? But because of me, they insinuated, it's really hard for me to even say this, but like, that she doesn't deserve to live. This is true. Like, this really happened. Well, that that would be the last time you ever saw me in public again, because I felt such shame that I put my daughter in this position to be public, right? I just felt like no one would ever believe it, right? Again, this is only 2016. Then you had the other side saying, well, I got what I deserved by putting my daughter in that position, and I got what I deserved by supporting Trump. And the slogan was the silent majority, right? But it became all too true, because not just were we silent, but you were silenced. Absolutely, like silence. Like, whoop, I just went back into the shadows. I am not into politics as it is, but this was truly terrifying. right? And I didn't want to tell too many people, but it's why you never saw me on the campaign, like ever, ever, ever again. And then fast forward that summer, the campaign's going strong, and I was secretly, silently happy for DT. But someone had run up to me, said, "Hey, we'd love your support. We'd love you to be involved. Like Donald Trump is coming to town, and we'd love." And I said, "Whoa, I she was like a lovely lady. And I said, I just want you to know, I want you to be really, really careful because people are really can get really agitated and become violent, right? Verbally violent." And she looked at me like I was crazy, like I had like verbally violent. This is crazy. She definitely looked at me without the full understanding of what I was trying to insinuate. And I said, just be careful. Just be careful who you talk to, right? So I just tried to warn her that people can get really, really worked up, really agitated, and verbally abusive. It can feel violent. It can feel violent coming at you. And she kind of looked at me like in disbelief, let's just say. And then a week later, the same woman approached me and said, "I have to talk to you." She said, "What you were saying." She's like, "I can't believe it. I got, I got decimated by a few different people that really chewed me out." And I said, "I am like so sorry. I know this to be true. I mean," and I told her the story, that I was terrified that they came after me, like people I didn't know on social media and you name it. And worse, they came after my daughter, right? This is as bad as it gets. And she was just in shock, right? And I knew media and I know how things can go and I know how it is, but to the average person, it's it's inconceivable. It's inconceivable this that you can be targeted in this way, right? It was very hard for me to explain that. Whoever is listening to this is that was 2016, and I had worked in media for decades prior to this. I mean, not only was I on The Apprentice, and I had that experience being on TV every week with 20 million viewers, but I worked in journalism as a photo editor for decades prior in entertainment, such as Rolling Stone, Spin Magazine, The Source, Maxim. I mean, all the pop culture magazines during the 90s grunge and development of like hip hop as we know it today. I worked with everybody. That's another subject that I can get into because I know a lot of what's going on today and it's also inconceivable, but it does tie into this agenda. But what I want to explain to anybody that is listening is that there is an agenda. Okay. I don't care what side of the street you're on, Republican or Democratic, there is an agenda, a maleficent agenda that is demoralizing to our country, to our people. People don't get it. These are very, very slick. It's a very, very slick, incredibly well, incredibly educated um, people that do not want good things for this country. And it is so bad that it would be hard. I can't even get into it right now. It would be hard for me to explain um, how dark it gets. But what I can explain is this: the American public is being propagated. The terms misinformation, disinformation, and conspiracy theory are all terms that were used by Adolf Hitler and the Third Reich in Germany to propagate the German people. They quite literally, you can check this through AI, misinformation, disinformation, and conspiracy theory. Conspiracy theory was used if anyone questioned the narrative, right? In which they already called that's misinformation because now the government is propagating through newspapers, through their media at the time, what the German people should be thinking. And if you questioned, if you used your own critical thinking, they called you what? A conspiracy theorist, right? And that was the first form of gaslighting. There is definitely people out there. They did not go away after, we won the war and defeated Adolf Hitler. They're still very much there. It's still very much viable, and they are playing out of the exact playbook that Adolf Hitler, and his name was Joseph Goebbels, was the mastermind of misinformation and disinformation to propagate the German people. Ironically, it was President Obama that, after all of the years of in America, we banned propaganda. You are not allowed to propagate the American people. This is so important to know. And in 2012, Obama actually reversed the propaganda law, the Smith-Mundt Act. You can look that up. Like, and all I could think is like, why would you do that? Like, we obviously know this is a terrible thing. You do not want to propagate the people, and we do not want our American government, no matter who's running it, to push their agenda, especially if you have some bad people in place or lobbyists and the elites, right? These international global elites. This could be a disaster. Well, that is what is happening today, hands down. A matter of fact, it's like right out of an Orwellian playbook. So when Hillary Rodham Clinton, a week before Donald Trump had his very successful rally in New York City last week, um, thousands and thousands and thousands of people, not just inside, it was packed, but lined the streets from Madison Square Garden to the Hudson River, all happy people just, vying for their presidential candidate. A week before, Hillary Rodham Clinton went on TV, I believe CNBC, and said Donald Trump is planning to do a rally in Madison Square Garden. Isn't this reminiscent of one that was, and that's embedding, right? This is like propaganda. She said, isn't it just like another group that demonstrated here, that threw a rally, and she was talking about neo-Nazis and the Nazis in the 1930s. People, if you don't get that that is not propaganda, and then you had people like Stephen Colbert joking, right, about Adolf Hitler wearing the mustache and the whole. So when they say this over and over and over, which is, if you can look this up, Adolf Hitler and Joseph Goebbels said, if you repeat it enough times, even if it's false, even if it's fake, the people will eventually succumb and believe it. So when you have the media saying over and over and over, that's the Nazi, that's the Nazi, that's the fascist, that's the fascist, even though it's wrong, that's what they believe. This is the scientific psychology that Adolf Hitler did to propagate the Germans, right? Creating fear, creating this. If he wins, he's going to destroy. Even though he ran the country for 4 years, was very, very successful. No wars under Donald Trump's reign. Still, they can go on TV and lie. And then you've got, Kamala, uh, Stephen Colbert, Hillary Clinton, and anybody else, of course, like schmuck VP nominee. Do not even get me going on him. This is perfect propaganda, and it is being done to you guys, right? This should be so against the law. I don't even know where to begin and end. But when they're doing the finger pointing, that's the problem. They are the fascist. They are behaving exactly the way Adolf Hitler and Joseph Goebbels behaved when propagating the Germans in World War II. And I know a little bit about this because my father was a World War II veteran, Purple Heart and Bronze Star. right? And he raised me to know all about it.